talk more, we have Republican debate coach Brett O'Donnell. Brett, it's good to see you this morning. Just about 36 hours until the big event. And two, got a note, by the way, this is the first time these candidates are ever even meeting in person. You got any early predictions how this will go down?
Well, I think, first of all, it's the most consequential debate, perhaps in American political debate history and at the presidential level. I mean, the last one was the most consequential when Joe Biden ended his candidacy, but we have a candidate who is barely known to the American people. She's done one major interview, has been off the campaign trail for over half of the time that she's been a candidate, preparing for either the interview or the debate. And so she has a very large mountain to climb in introducing herself to the American people and letting the country know where she would take the country. On the other hand, you have the most well-known candidate, probably in the history of American political debate. He's debated a number of times, and he's very well-known. People have formed opinions about him. And so it'll be interesting to see how those two factors interplay. I mean, I think if Trump can maintain discipline and focus on policies, he's going to have a good night. If Harris can get under his skin and justify the switches in her policy positions, she'll have a good night.
Yeah. And you kind of speak about debate styles here. And when you think of Trump, you think of the name calling. He goes for the jabs. Is that approach, you think he's going to do that tomorrow? And will that really work against Harris?
Well, I think he has to be careful because he is, first of all, debating a woman, and communication, gender roles in communication are a fact of life. And he has to be careful with how he handles Vice President Harris. But by the same token, she has to be careful as well. She can cross lines that get her assigned negative qualities as well. So I think he's got to stay focused on the substance and on policy. If he does that, that's going to put Vice President Harris in a tough spot because she has been changing positions and has to justify that. If he can pin her down on some of those policy positions and make her own the last 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration, then I think folks are going to see her through a different lens. Right now, they have seen her just the new, fresh face, and I think that's inflated her popularity more than normal in a presidential race at this point. I think the polling's starting to show that.
And we know that Hillary Clinton saying the best thing Harris can do is to bait Trump. Exactly how would she bait him that would end up being successful in her coming out as being seen the victor of the night?
Sure. I mean, I think she did this to Mike Pence with I'm speaking now. I'm sure she won't use that exact same phrase, but I think she'll do things that try to get under his skin, go after him for his legal problems, go after him for some of the personal things, go after him like Joe Biden did on the military attack. All of those are things which the president might take the bait on and lash out at her over. And if he gets angry, overly angry, goes back to the debating style that he had in the first presidential debate in 2020 with Joe Biden, that would be very bad for him. So I'm sure that they've got a number of tactics aimed at trying to do that. The president should know, President Trump should know that, and he shouldn't take that bait.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.